social relationship of eminent monks among Shan Buddhist communities. So this talk today is actually a carry on, continuing his research interest from his PhD research. But he has also did some work already in terms of Pali language, meditation. So he was working on Kammatthana texts, and also he's interested in social philosophy as well. So his research interests cover a range of research areas. So it's my pleasure to welcome Venerable Dr. Devendra. So I will hand over to you, Dr. Devendra.
Okay, thank you very much, SSBU team, Dr. Pifyojo, for introducing me to this group. And I'm very glad that I have this opportunity to present my research. Actually, this is part of my PhD thesis. I hope you all can see my PowerPoint, right?
Yes, we can. It's great.
Yes,
Thank you.
We can.
Yeah. So this paper, I have written this paper and published in the Prajna Vihara Journal, the Journal of Philosophy and Religion at Assumption University. So my talk today will be on individual enlightenment and social responsibility, reinterpreting Theravada holy monks from a Buddhist sociological perspective. And as an overview, this research attempts to show the connection between individual charismatic monk and its spiritual achievement in relation to their service to society. The connections are based on the 10 perfection parami, in particular, the perfection of morality, sila parami, as can be seen in the Buddhist writing concerning the 10 parami and described by the Jataka literature, such as Purittata Jataka. This research demonstrates that there is such a thing as a Buddhist sociology, looking at charismatic monks such as Venerable Kruwa Punchum of Shan State in Eastern Myanmar as a case study, and that the Buddhist understandings of sociology and social relation go beyond a secular sociology of such thinkers as Durkheim and Weber. And as I read through some of the writing of some scholar, I come to realize that their interpretation of Buddhism is something misleading, like Max Weber interpreting of Buddhism as a social character, genuine mysticism, and as asceticism, rejecting the social world, and Buddhism as otherworldly religion, or Buddhism as individualistic religion. And another scholar like T.R.V. Murthy also interpret Theravada Arahant as being selfish. And another scholar like Dampiya and Cohen also misinterpret Buddhist holy monks such as Kruwa Sivichai and Kruwa Punchum as having the characteristic of millenarianism, utopianism, as a cult leader, or also as a savior saint. So I'm going to argue again with this interpretation as well. So as my theoretical framework, I developed my research from sociological theory. As I first look at the sociological theory, they have three main theory, like functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interaction. And Durkheim, he is a functionalist. He developed the functionalist theory as social order, social cohesion, social control, social stability, unity, and harmony. So the things, the religion that contribute to social harmony, social unity, or social cohesion like this can be called the religious functionalism. And he interpreted religion as a unifying system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things. That's it to say, things set apart and forbidden, beliefs and practices which unite in one single moral community called a church, all these who adhere to them. So as a moral community. And also I use the theoretical framework from Max Weber as he classifying the authority, 3 types of authority: traditional, legal, and charismatic. Here I use the theory of charisma to explore my Buddhist sociological research.
Venerable David,
Yes.
Can I just check, are you, should we be seeing other slides or still the first slide?
Oh, yeah, really? I moved forward already, actually. You cannot see the slide is moving?
No.
I don't know how other people are experiencing it.
Not yet. I can't see the slide moving. I'm seeing the intro slide.
Oh.
May I request control? And I'll see if I can move it. Okay.
Allow control.
So great. So other people are telling us also they can't see the slides moving, but I don't seem to have control with. All right, I'm going to stop control because I haven't been able to move them. Can you try again, please, Venerable Devinda?
Yes. Can you see the slide? Not yet.
No.
I think if you stop sharing the screen and then try again, perhaps.
Okay. Okay, I hope it. Stop presenting.
Yeah.
And then write this screen.
If anybody can hear snoring in the background, I apologize. Not me, it's the dog. I think that's the wrong screen, maybe. Or oh, that's it. Yeah. And
can you see it moving now? Oh.
PowerPoint slide.
Yeah.
I can see them moving. Do you want to do it as slideshow?
Is this okay now?
Now we can see your Teams window. So we need the slideshow. That's it. And if you do it as present slideshow, so show slideshow, that's lovely. And try again, see if it works. Perfect. Thank you very much. Sorry for the interruption.
Great.
So I continue?
Yeah.
Yes. So now I come to some interpretation of Buddhist sociology, how the scholar interpret Buddhism, right, from the sociological point of view. Like Traveling argued that Buddhism can be regarded as a prescription both for the reconstruction of human consciousness and for the reconstruction for the restructuring of human society. And Sulak Siraksa, a Thai scholar, a Buddhist sociologist in Thailand, he agreed with Ling and gave his own remark that without the former restructuring of human consciousness, the latter human society can be ineffective. Indeed, religion at various times in human history have expressed a concern both for the attainment of personal salvation and for the establishment and maintenance of proper order in the world. So he agreed with that Buddhism also reconstructing human society. And Bailey and Muppet classify Buddhism into 3 versions. The first represents the original asocial Buddhism as an ascetic Christ embodied in a form of practice. And the second version emphasizes the public and frequently political involvement of the Dhamma and the Sangha. In this view, Buddhism becomes a system of teaching accessible to all. And the third approach relates Buddhism to the wider context of folk religion and deliberately leaves out the soteriological concepts and ethical teaching codified in books. So these are 3 versions of Buddhism at the Bailey and Muppet classified in the early Buddhist sociology. And then another scholar, Gokali PG, in which he observed the early Buddhist gradual movement process in 3 phases. The phase of isolation, that is the the renunciation and ascetic practices to attain the highest goal of Nibbana. And the second one, the phase of association, that is the establishment of monastic community of the Sangha and its social context with people. And the third phase is the phase of transformation, that is spiritual and social movement in transforming of the society. So here you can see he covered the Buddhist sociology to understand about the Buddhist society. The second and the third are totally concerned with social idea. Even the first is emphasized on the ascetic practices and renunciation. The Buddhist concept of 10 perfection, parami, and morality, sila, which are underlying in the Buddhist teaching, have been playing significant roles in Buddhist communities, such as among the Shan Buddhist community of Myanmar. So parami and sila practice are very common among the Buddhists, but here I emphasize on the Shan society. So this talk aims to highlight the function of parami and sila in creating social cohesion and practices of Shan Buddhist spiritual leader, the most venerable Hua Wunjum. And before I go to Venerable Hua Wunjum, let me briefly present about the sociological interpretation. Firstly, the concept of charismatic authority. According to Weber, there are 3 types of leadership authority: traditional, legal, and charismatic authority. In his essay, the 3 types of legitimate rule. Traditional authority is the ability and the right to rule passed down through heredity. Legal authority is empowered by a formalistic belief in the content of law, legal or natural law, rationality. The charismatic authority is found in a leader whose mission and vision inspire others. It is based upon the perceived extraordinary characteristics of an individual. And Weber defined charisma as a certain quality of an individual or personality by virtue of which he is set apart from ordinary men and treated as endowed with supernatural, superhuman, or at least specifically exceptional powers or quality. The concept defined by Max Weber. And the concept of millenarian character. Millenarianism has occurred among many religious, social, and political groups. Why it is different? Most millenarian groups claim that both the societies in which they emerge and their rulers are corrupt and unjust. The term Buddhist millenarianism was first introduced by Stanley Dampier to refer to the Buddhist political movement based on the concept of the coming of future Buddha, Arimateya, or Bodhisattva, the concept of universal monarch Chakravarti, and the righteous king Dhamaraja. He interpreted the movement of Hua Sivichai as a political revolt or defiance to the central authority of the state and the Sangha in Thailand as millenarian character. And Amponjiratikon observed further that Dampier identified Hua Sivichai with militant millenarianism as mystical belief among his followers and a consequent attempt to reconstitute the existing order that often points up into revolt. And Buddhist saying and their social relationships. And here I look at 2 sayings which are highly respected in Thailand. It's the saying as a Bodhisattva idea and Arahant idea. In Western term, you may use the term savior saint and mystical saint. Hua Sivichai can be considered as a Bodhisattva idea, and Hua Man Puritato can be considered as an Arahant idea according to the local beliefs as well. It was researched by Charles Gears. He defined a saint must be a person whose qualities of exceptional holiness are known not only to the person himself, but also manifest in signs that are interpreted by others as implicating the sacred. In Theravada Buddhism, only those men whose actions are believed to have led to the attainment of the highest goals of the path, Magga, taught by the Buddha, can be counted as saints. So this is the concept of saint in Buddhism as defined by Kies. And Buddhist revivalism and active utopianism, this concept also developed from the Christian Bible. I think that this term, captive millenarianism, active utopianism, revivalism. Cohen interpreted that Kuwamunjum practice is in a form of Tonpun, right? Tonpun, source of merit, tradition, and Buddhist revivalism. The term holy man is achieved through their Tonpun characters of Yon Buddhism, traced back to the 14th and 15th century CE in northern Thailand. Tonpun character involved in restoring, building, and repairing of religious monuments and creating the Buddha's kingdom. Tonpun tradition is also a form of Buddhist revivalism and active utopianism, also by Cohen. And in Cohen interpretation, active utopianism encourages moral regeneration among its followers and envision an ideal Buddhist realm. And as observed by Ampon Chiratikon. And so my critique on those active utopian and the use of the term utopian movement for Huawonsum is inaccurate, because the monks never consider themselves creating utopian state called the Buddha's kingdom or the Buddha's land, Buddha Desa, what they use the term in Pali. In fact, such term is not found in the early Theravada Buddhist canon. Only the term like Majjhima Desa, the middle land, as the land of the Dhamma, is appeared in the Theravada canon. So this form of revivalism, this is according to Cohen, this form of revivalism condemns the modern state for its failure to uphold Buddhist morality, resist state control, and foster visions of utopian Buddhist realms. This revivalism, I argue, takes the form of opposition to a modern state, perceived as unjust and immoral, and envision an ideal Buddhist realm that transcends the sovereignty of the nation state and proclaim the supremacy of Buddhist morality. So according to Cohen, he interprets Buddhist morality as revivalism. And then regarding the concept of revivalism, the term is also originated from the Christian movement in the 19th century to reform the church, to be closer to God, and also related to evangelism. Rupa Punsum is a Theravada Buddhist monk who practices the path of the Buddha for his spiritual achievement, and also does not neglect his role in propagating Buddhism in many forms. His propagation of Buddhism includes preaching the Dhamma, encouraging moral development, fostering peace and social harmony, repairing and building religious monuments, social welfare activities. These works are done out of practice of perfection, parami, and his moral religious responsibility and compassion. So what he is doing, what he has done are all based on this. And therefore, to interpret Kuwamunjum's practice as a mere Buddhist revivalism undermines the true sense of the practice of Theravada Buddhism. So understanding Venerable Kuwamunjum through Buddhist sociology, here Kuwamunjum is considered by the Shan Buddhists as a role model who practices the perfection, parami, and morality, sila parami, because I'm focusing more on sila parami. Actually, Venerable Kuwamunjum practiced the whole 10 perfection, dana parami. He also do a lot of works of charity. He is very generous, and he never saved anything for his own sake. whatever is donated to him, he usually donated back to the needy. And so he also keep his morality as pure as he can. And he is considered as a very well moral practice person among the Shan community. So Shan Thai Buddhist community consider him as having great perfection because of his practice such as meditation in caves, living in forests, being vegetarian, having one meal a day, building a lot of religious monuments, and having a large number of followers, and living detached from worldly pleasure. And he also takes deep practice in samatha and vipassana meditation. That means he practiced the patipati. He also meditation practitioner. And his charisma is believed to have developed from his personal spiritual practice of perfection, morality, and his social relationship with different communities. So I will illustrate further. And Buddhist charisma through Buddhist sociological perspective. Buddhist charisma is built not just based on the word rejecting asceticism, but social spiritual relationship with society. Actually, Venerable Hua Wunchum is not just living as a pure asceticism, rejecting the social world. And he, from time to time, he came out and preached the Dhamma and engaged with the society. And he also have a lot of some educational project, health project, and so on. Also, even nowadays, he is observing 3 years retreat in the caves in Eastern Shan State in the deep forest in Mungket. Often he came out, he himself doesn't came out, but he still have some connection with society. Like he wrote a book, maybe 1 in 2 months, 3 months, and he left the book at the entrance gate and asked his devotee to publish his book. Now I think just over 1 year, he his book has been published about 9 volumes already, but it is a small volume, not big one. So this kind of relationship are still there. So this kind of practice, asceticism in Buddhism, Tambia also interpreted asceticism is not a kind of social rejecting or word rejecting asceticism. Actually, it is in a worldly asceticism. In a worldly asceticism here, combined with both worldly, this worldly, and otherworldly. In Pali, we have the term like ida loka and praloka for this world and for the next world, and atahita for oneself and prahita for the welfare of oneself and for the welfare of others. So they combine. So Buddhist charisma or parami is built not only in this life. Actually, it built from the previous life as well. So when we trace the parameter of the bodhisattva or those who are very well known, maybe they, because Buddhists believe that, right? Especially in Shan Buddhism, also we believe that because of their past parami, they have done good things in the past, dana parami, sila parami. They practice those things, and then those practice attribute them in this very life to be very successful, to be in a higher state. So it combines the parami from the past and the present. And then Tambia further define asceticism, that they are not solely cut off from the society. The ascetics, they also found their spiritual community and humanity as a whole as their community. So asceticism in Buddhism also consider the society as a whole as their community, and they come out sometimes to give them Dhamma talk, to give instruction for spiritual development like that. And they also have their own monks community like that, so they are still in the community. And the source of charismatic authority in Shan Buddhist society, we can see the authority, charismatic authority, are developed from 10 perfection, like 10 perfection in Theravada Buddhism, like dana, charity, sila, morality, nekama, renunciation, panya, wisdom, virya, effort, intelligence, khanti, endurance, saja, truthfulness, adhitthana, firm determination, metta, loving kindness, and upekha, equanimity or balanced mind. So these 10 perfections are mentioned in the Buddhist canon of Jariya Pitaka and Jariya Pitaka commentary and Buddha Vansa as well. And then the perfection of morality, Sila Parami, comprised of 5 precepts, 8 precepts, 10 precepts, or for the monk rule Vinaya, those are included in the perfection of morality. And there are 2 types of morality in Buddhism, and we call it two types of Sila, Varita Sila and Charita Sila. Varita Sila means a kind of self-constraint, self-control, and aspiration. And Charita Sila is a kind of obligation, duty, responsibility. So you need to practice both. If you just practice Sila as a controlling yourself, practicing for your own self, but you don't contribute anything to society, that is, you are lacking of Charita Sila. So your duty as a monk, your duty in the community, like that, you need to perform as a Charita Sila. And then Parami in Shan society, we consider those persons who are very talented, who are genius, who are intelligent, having a good Parami. We say, oh, he has a good Parami when he is good at something like that. So Parami is very much popular among the Shan society. And then in Shan society, we look at the moral authority from the monks, from the temple, from our culture and belief, and from the holy text, and from the Jataka story, and also from the ordination ceremony. Because when we ordain a young monk, then because he take a vow to practice those morality sila, and they become more a kind of more influent, and then people respect them when they become a monk. And for higher ordained monks, they become more respected because of their commitment for practicing more the rules, the Vinaya rule. And we also look at Hua Wunjum as a moral person, right? As a role model of morality in Hua Wunjum. So these are the where we see as a morality in the Shan society. And when we talk about Sila Parami in Buddhism, in Theravada Buddhism, we have 3 levels of perfection of morality. Actually, every perfection, not just Sila, but also Dana. There are 3 levels: Dana Parami, Dana Upa Parami, Dana Pramatha Parami. And for Sila as well, Sila Parami and Sila Upa Parami, Sila Pramatha Parami. So normal practicing of the precept is called Sila Parami. And the second level, if something involved with harming your any part of your body, but you never give up your morality, that is a Sila Upa Parami. And Sila Pramatha Parami is risking your life, even though your life is threatened, but you never give up your moral practice. So this is the highest level, Sila Pramatha Parami. So the Bodhisattva, they need to practice all this level of Parami to perfect, to become an enlightened person. So these are the practices of Bodhisattva appeared in Theravada text. And then Buddhist sociology of spirituality and charisma. Buddhist charisma, or the authority of holy monk, differ from the charisma in Western Christian concept, which derive from the divine origin. Buddhist charisma is earned through self-practice of perfection and morality in the past and the present. Buddhist charisma is developed by individuals and through his spiritual relationship with his follower. Buddhist charisma of holy monk is not individualistic power that's set apart from society, rather by associating with his followers. So these are what the concept of Buddhist charisma that I developed from Buddhist sociology. So my final mark, Buddhist sociology has social, ethical, and spiritual significance. When we talk about Buddhist sociology, it should cover sila, morality, samadhi, concentration, and panya, wisdom. Sila, samadhi, panya. And we can observe Buddhism in practice in Shan Buddhist Society of Myanmar and their spiritual master Venerable Hua Wunjum as practicing these things, sila, samadhi, and panya. And the relationship of individual enlightenment and social responsibility. Even anyone is becoming arahant, he still has social responsibility that he need to instruct them and he need to guide them like that. And people also have to offer them food, doing some their part, their responsibility. So there are still relationship between individual enlightenment and the social responsibility. And we have also the concept like Aranyavasi and Kamavasi, the forest dwelling monk and the urban dwelling monk, right? Forest dwelling monk, even though they dedicated more time for practicing meditation in the forest, but occasionally from time to time, they still come out to the society to contribute something to society, to share their experience, their Dhamma knowledge, and people also give them food. So they are still, even though they are not actively involving in the society, there are still some relationship. And for the Kamavasi, urban dwelling monks, of course, they are more actively involved with the society. Any time when the society is in need of them, so they do whatever they can to help the society as a Kamavasi. And then Pariyati and Patipati. As a monk, we have the duty to practice Pariyati, learning and teaching scripture, the theory, engaging with the theory. And Patipati, doing meditation, engaging with the practice. And another duty of the monk, Kanda Dura and Vipassana Dura, and also developed by the commentator. Kanda Dura as a duty of monk to engage with scriptural and theoretical responsibility, and Vipassana Dura to engage with spiritual and practical responsibility. Even though the duty is set to for the monk to perform like this, but they should not just practice for their own. Even though they learn the scripture, it doesn't mean they have to learn just for their own. They need to hand it down. They need to guide people, to teach their disciples, their pupils, students, like that. So there are still social responsibility. Even though in meditation practice as well, normally they don't monk practice meditation not just for themselves. Yeah, first for themselves to understand, to realize, and then to guide others, to teach others. So there are always Attahita, Prahita go together. Okay, this is the picture of Venerable Hua Wunjum. Thank you very much for your attention. That's all my presentation. Thank you. If you have any question or discussion, please. Hello? Did you hear me? Yes.
It's Olivia here. Thank you so much for your presentation, Venerable Devinda.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions, could they please raise their hand, or they can ask the question in the chat box and I can read it out. We have a question from Tay, sorry. If you unmute yourself, you can ask the question. Thank you.
About the term inaccurately used as the utopian movement, on the Kruba Onchon, may I know about which institution is termed as a utopian movement of the monk? Thank you.
It's in the...
Can I just interrupt? Sorry, Devinda. Could I ask you to stop sharing your screen so we get to see more of you and less of the screen? My apologies.
It's okay now.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, if you read the book Charismatic of Lana Buddhism, in there Cohen and also another scholar like Sirala, they use this term for Venerable Hua Wunjung. Ampon Chiratikon is, I think, a professor from Chiang Mai University in Thailand. She wrote a script from Holy Monk to Millenarian. I cannot remember the article correctly. Yes, in the book Charismatic Monks of Lana Buddhism, you can find there a lot of articles mentioning about Buddhist utopianism. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a question from Indica.
Thank you. Hi, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I cannot see you. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your for the presentation. I was trying to I just would like to know in terms of the classifications you gave at the end on your final slide. Do you consider the sort of the forest sort of dwelling type of monks as less important in Shan sort of Buddhist society, or I mean, do you see one as more important than the other?
Sorry, I am not very much clear about the question.
You presented the sort of two sort of sides of Buddhist monasticism. You've got the forest practice and the town dwelling side. Are you saying that one is more? Are you saying they're equally important, or is one more important than the other?
Yes, they are equally important, because for the growth of Buddhism, if there is no city dwelling monks, then the Buddhism will decline in society. And so the monks should also sometimes practice for their own self. Sometimes they need to contribute it for the society. And sometimes the monk need to be in times of need, right? When people need for the monks, like even like funeral service, right? And to have some spiritual guidance like that. The society need to be easily accessible to the for the foreign monks. It will be harder for the society sometimes to accept. For the city dwelling monk, it's easier for people to access to get a spiritual guidance and also for religious services. So both are important, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We have a question from Panna.
Hello, Bumpo.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It's really great. And I have one question. So in the Theravada text, is there any specific norms for the bodhisattva, who wants to become a Buddha, some practicing monks? So is there any specific norms in terms of social responsibility? For example, they focus more on social activities rather than staying in the forest, living in Aranyavasi, something like that. So is there any specific norms in the Theravada text?
Actually, when you say Bodhisattva in Theravada, they need to practice the 10 perfection. 10 perfection. So that practicing the 10 perfection become the norm. And to practice perfection, they need to balance. They need to balance with both how to say, the social engagement and for their spiritual practices. They need to balance with these two. Right. So in the commentary, the aim of Bodhisattva is first to become an enlightened one, right? To become an enlightened person, Buddhatacharya, and the second aim is Nyatacharya for the welfare of kids and kin, and Lokatacharya for the welfare of the whole world. So these three things doesn't mention actually in the canon which one should come first. And our rector Sayadaw also used to mention that these three must be practiced together. So for their own self and for the benefit of society. So they must balance and to try to develop those 10 perfections.
So,
can understand.
Okay, so but what I'm thinking is we have another Arinyavasi, Mahabodhi Myai Sayadaw. So he usually lived in the forest and he spent most of the time. So people in Myanmar say like he is going on the Arahantship path, something like that. So how do you think of Kuba Bunchon? Is he following the Bodhisattva path or Arahant path? So in terms of his practice and social, taking social responsibility, how do you think of him?
From my observation, he is more on Bodhisattva path. And he himself also said he making a Bodhisattva vow. So Bodhisattva vow is also that you need to have people, right, and to develop your dana, and also you do dana parami and sila parami and nekama parami. Sometimes he renounced the word, and he developed viriya parami, right, practicing very hard, and also trying to develop his understanding of the Dhamma, Panya parami. And Khanti, he is patient, and he also trying to speak the truth, right, Satya parami. And Adhitthana parami, he follow his Adhitthana determination, observing 3 year retreat, and every ring retreat 3 months also he usually live in the cave. So and Metta parami, most people also consider him as a Metta parami practitioner. He always very kind and cultivate loving kindness to all beings without any discrimination. And so he himself also said that he is practicing the Bodhisattva path, and I never heard that he claimed he is practicing the Arahant path. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Babu.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you. We have a question in the chat from Purva. She asks, are there any instances of charismatism in any contemporary female Buddhist nuns in Myanmar?
Oh. Charismaticism in terms of religious or in politics, maybe in secular case, maybe charisma like Aung San Suu Kyi may have some types of charisma in secular charisma, right? But in terms of Buddhism, sorry, I could not give any example for that. Maybe if Sayale have some type of female charisma in Buddhism, can you explain? If anyone want to share your point of view on that.
If anybody would like to interject, or we have a question from Kate.
If I could mention someone. So Siale Dipingara, and most of you would know. She's one of the she she was the student of Prof. Sociology, and then now she has her own meditation center, and also there are other female. Well, there are other precept nuns in Myanmar who are leading very successful teaching nunneries. So I'm not sure whether we might understand them in terms of very charismatic female leaders. So okay. So in the chat, I share the information about Saliti Bengara's meditation center. Okay.
Okay.
Kate, did you have a question?
Sorry, I was talking to myself there with my microphone off. Before I ask my question, if I could draw people's attention to the chat. So he very kindly shared the information about next week's talk by Professor Richard Gombrich on the importance of so-called transfer of merit for understanding the history of Buddhism. Now for my couple of questions, if I may. Thank you, Venerable Devinda, for a wonderful talk, and I just want to say how much a fan of your work I am. I think it's there have been responses to Weber and other interpretations of charismatic authority before, but this I find the most constructive because it actually looks in depth at the what Buddhism has to say itself about authority. I've got two questions. I really liked your distinction between, the Christian sense of charisma as something that comes by grace from an external source, and this in contrast to Buddhism, where it's something you build up and you've earned by, fulfilling these high goals that the Buddhist path sets out, and that made me think about. I'm not a Weberian expert, but I can see there are some people in the audience who are. So one of the things I've wondered about Weber's list of authorities that you kindly put up is, in a lay sense, authority also comes from expertise, which is closer to what you were describing there, the development, expertise and experience. And I wondered why that's not in the Weberian analysis. Is that because it's just to do with religion and that's assumed to not be about expertise? So if anybody has an answer about that, that would be interesting, or if you yourself, Venerable Devinda. My other question is about revival. So you dismissed the idea of Buddha Desa, but I wondered whether there Kruba has had a sense that Buddhism has declined, and therefore one needs to develop practice. So if we think of revivals, we often think of them in response to the sense that the true teaching is not being practiced fully. Yeah. So I suppose if trying to take the sense of revival seriously, has there been that sense for Kruba that the Dharma is in decline, as it were, or not? So that, do you see what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, first I agree with you that expertise can be considered as also charismatic authority. And in terms of Buddhism as decline or not, normally we look at the moral practice of the people. Right? If people are become more corrupted society, and that if the society is more corrupted and more corrupted people are there, then we could say that it's actually declination of the Dhamma. And as Buddhism is based on the Dhamma, so declining of the Dhamma is also the declining of Buddhism. You can consider like this.
I suppose I was thinking more about whether there was a very strong sense that it has been declining and therefore there is a need to regenerate. and I'm thinking of this partly academically, if we want to dismiss the sense that that there's you know, an aim for reviving Buddhism, then we have to take seriously whether there is this sense of a decline. Do you see what I mean?
Declining is not just in this our age. I think it's from time to time, because there are always, the world is always mixed up with good and bad, right? With good and bad people. So we cannot say this age is more decline or the other time is more decline. Maybe we should actually more encourage to be more practicing of the Dhamma.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to cheekily repeat a question from my students yesterday, because I think people in this audience, including you, Venerable Devinda, may be able to answer it. So the question that students yesterday asked was, is there a discourse in Buddhist countries at the moment that relates, like, coronavirus to human behavior, and particularly to Adamic behavior?
Yes, I think we can look at the Attamika Sutta in Anguttara Nikaya, Attamika Sutta, because we people and also I don't remember the other sutta. Maybe we can talk about the sutta first. If people live with the Dhamma, if they don't live with the Dhamma, then the effects to society, first from the ruler and then to the business people and to normal people, and then it also contributed to the changing of the social environment and the natural environment, and then the how to say the word, it become disorder, the function of the star, the constellation and so on. So they are interrelated according to Buddhism. So if people are immoral, and then in reverse, then we will have the bad effect of our own action, actually from karma, we can say also. If people are more greedy, more anger and more delusion, then they do many nonsense things and harmful things to the world, and they will suffer the effect of what they are doing, like the action. Right.
Thank you. Sorry, that's very helpful answer. I wasn't very clear. So when they use the term discourse, they didn't mean a sutta. So I didn't think of the way that sutta gets translated. They meant whether Buddhists now have discussions or conversations that relate the pandemic to human behavior.
I think yes, some monks come out and give a talk on this. Also, even our Rector Sayadaw also often, like when Dr. Kamai Tamasami often give a talk to cope with ourselves with this pandemic situation, right? To practice more compassion and to practice more mindfulness meditation, so that we can cope with this situation. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
P, you have your hand raised.
Thank you, Venerable Dr. Devinda. My question actually is, I'm just wondering to what extent you know, the political and social climate of Myanmar and Thailand has informed Kuba Bunchung's teaching to some extent, because he, you know, we know that he travels around that area a lot, often cross border. So I'm just wondering about that.
You mean from Sorry, can you repeat again the question?
My question is that because Kuba Punchung and other Shan Seattles as well, they go from Myanmar side to Thai side, and they travel and they teach in both countries. So in terms of their teachings and the kind of Dhamma talks and the issue that they teach has been kind of influenced by social as well as political climate of those areas.
Yes, because Thai, the Shan in Myanmar and Thai, they are linguistically also related, and they can communicate easily, right? Without using even other language, they can use their own language to communicate with each other as well. And so they have the same concept, right? The same, the same belief as a Buddhist practitioner, and the culture also quite related, and they have close culture. And then their background, belief, and culture also come from the same source. So they can share with each other from both sides. So like that, because of some influencer Seattle from Myanmar, they can have influence on some Thai community. Yeah, I would say Thai community in Thailand, and some Thai Seattle in northern Thailand also sometimes they can cross over and have some Dhamma talk or have some influence on the Thai people in Myanmar side as well, because of the religious and cultural relationship established since a long time. So this kind of thing they can also have sharing the Dhamma and practices because they also how to say a kind of negotiating the country, like the different political demarcation, and they deal with the authority both sides, how to say, both sides maybe intelligently like that, and then they can easily give the Dhamma talk for both sides like this, because of their social cultural relationship is maybe strong from since from ancient time.
Right. Yes, I'm just I was just wondering about the kind of social and social history as well as political history. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We've got a question in the chat from Venerable Vichita, who says, thank you very much for your talk. According to Weber's sociological perspective, he does not force the followers to agree with his charismatic authority without clear understanding. However, some Orthodox monks still dominate devotees to follow the traditional practice without understanding. Could you clarify the differences between these two?
Between Orthodoxism and
I think, okay, I'll repeat the question. According to Weber's sociological perspective, he does not force the followers to agree with his charismatic authority without clear understanding. However, some Orthodox monks still dominate devotees to follow the traditional practice without them fully understanding. So what are the differences between these two?
Yes, he doesn't give example what kind of Orthodox charismatic that the Orthodox monk asking devotee to do, with types of things that he doesn't say clearly here. I think it is by tradition. We also follow the teaching of Theravada Buddhism, and also the long time practice Buddhist culture, like in Myanmar, in Shan State, in Thailand, like that. We also have a traditional, some form of traditional belief. Yes. Yes, we should encourage people to understand what they are doing and what they are practicing. That is also the duty of the monks to explain those people to understand why they do such and such things. I'm not sure if my answer fit to the question.
I think that's okay. We have another question from Alexi, who says, "Thank you for your presentation, Bhante. Could you please speak a bit about Kruba Bunchum's appeal to non-Shan communities in Myanmar? Also, as social engagement is considered a feature of modern Buddhism, could you comment something on charismatic monks of the past? Thank you."
There are two questions.
Yeah, so the first question is, could you talk a little bit about Kruba Bunchum's appeal to the non-Shan communities in Myanmar?
I think Venerable Kruba Bunchum, he engaged with every society, every community within his reach, right? Within his reach, because his language is also limited. He cannot speak Burmese well. However, Burmese people, including the high monk and the authority, also often came and pay respect to him. And sometimes he also traveled to the big city like Rangoon, Mandalay, Naypyidaw, and give Dhamma talk to the public there also. And within his own community in Shan State, there are diverse ethnicity in Shan State as well, among the Akha people and Lahu people, Palong people, and every community he visit them and has some form of influence on them, and he often encouraged them to practice Dhamma, to practice morality, and he also often distributed something to them, right, giving dana, charity to them. And he also offer food and clothes and gifts for the education support and so on. Also, he is also doing this kind of social engagement in Shan State and beyond as well.
Okay, thank you. And then the second part of the question is, as social engagement is usually considered a feature of modern Buddhism, could you talk about charismatic monks of the past? So,
charismatic monks of the past in Thailand or in Myanmar?
Maybe either.
Yeah, if in Thailand, normally in Thailand for charismatic monk, people usually refer to such Venerable Kruba Sivichai, because he built the road, right, road, and he spoke for the social welfare a lot. He built even the road to go to the mountain of the Wat Suthep, the famous pagoda in the mountain in Chiang Mai. And he led a lot of social development projects. I think if you read his story, and you can learn more about him. In Myanmar, charismatic monks usually identify such monks like Samanya Sayadaw, right? Samanya Sayadaw is also famous, revered by many people, and people consider him also having some kind of spiritual attainment, like spiritual power. He can read other people's mind like that also. And he also usually give kind of food, free food, and to the people also, like Samanya Sayadaw and Konglong Sayadaw, also in Shan State, Konglong Sayadaw. So when people visit their monastery, everything is provided free, like this thing. And so not very long ago, maybe just about 2-3 centuries. But beyond that, maybe there are some influential monk in Dhamma, like Lady Sayadaw, right? Influential monk in the Buddhist literature in Myanmar. Lady Sayadaw can be also considered as a charismatic monks during the British colonial period. Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. I've got a question. So on one of your slides, you mentioned the sources of charismatic authority in Shan Buddhism, or Shan Buddhist society. You mentioned things like the 10 perfections and perfections of morality. How can these things be verified? Is the charisma itself the verification, or is there another type of verification?
Charisma is self-verification.
So you talk about the sources of charismatic authority.
Yes.
And so the way that these are kind of justified is through these different things like the 10 perfections or the perfections of morality. But how can followers or outsiders verify that these things are true? Or is it because the monk has attained these different things and then comes across as charismatic, is that itself the verification?
That is also from their own observation, because those people who have some relationship with Kua, they have learned something new, and they see something very respectable, and they also see him as very compassionate, right? Very kind and helping people in times of need, like that. And people also see him as a good moral practitioner. So this thing also from people saying, and from their own witness, and also from social media. So from this thing they learn, they verify themselves as a Hua Bunchum, as a charismatic person. But in before, when the social media was not very much available, that time people also from by the report, right? By the report or by hearing from someone, from through telephone or something like that. So they learn about Hua Bunchum, about his good quality, and then they respect him, and he become more and more popular among the Shan people.
Okay, thank you. It's interesting to hear about the influence of social media. I don't see any more questions in the chat or any more hands raised. Or Kate, do you have any other remarks?
And no more questions and remarks. Just to thank you for a very, very clear question. There was a question. The people asked if we could share your slides on the TNTS website. Perhaps you might want to check whether you're happy with all those being shared before, so we could look into that later. But really, I found that very clear, really wonderful overview, and also very, very interesting and helpful response. So thank you very, very much for your talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will stop the recording now. If Devinda, do you have time to stay around in case there is any more questions from people for another 10 minutes? No?
Right.
Great. So